So Tesla held yesterday, but boy, really had a nice. The news is interesting. I mean, that's definitely gonna have to watch for levels, that one. And that too, it looks like it does want that 240.
Yeah, I actually put a quick post out about it this morning. It's interesting. He's a celebrity. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no other way to put it. He's the replacement for Steve Jobs of people that they just absolutely love to listen to right now.
Right. And I heard some negative, he's just doing this to cover up his bad Tesla sales. No, I think he's taking it at a totally different level. I think it's amazing because now we've got Tesla energy.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, I saw something like it's kind of related yesterday. There was a thing on Yahoo about how to tell if you have two batteries, which one, like regular double A or triple A batteries,
Right, right.
how to tell if it's dead or not. And essentially, what they did is like they lifted a battery up like maybe half an inch off of the table,
Okay.
and then dropped it. And the battery that stands up has a charge. The battery that falls down is dead.
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard of that
I
one.
never did it. I'm like, wow, it's something simple, but I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool.
Wow. Wow. Pretty amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, I find Tesla to me is interesting because like I'm a huge, even when it comes to trading and that I'm like a really huge student of like the early 1900s and that kind of stuff, and
Okay.
Carnegie Ford and Napoleon Hill and Edison and Tesla. I mean, I love that period of time. There was so much that happened with so little, and whether you want to call them robber barons or not, who cares?
Right.
It was
Well,
fascinating.
and think about how the world evolved from in the last 100 years, or since 1900. So I guess it's been a little over, but I mean, we really just took off. Suppose the Industrial Revolution started it, and then all the people like that really took us to such a higher level.
Yeah, I've been reading a lot on Rockefeller from back then. He was about as cutthroat as you could possibly get. It's weird because like people know him for like how religious he was and never drank, he never cursed. But then you actually read about his business practices. He was it was black and white. You're on my team or you're
Right.
gone. You know.
Yeah. And all of his philanthropic endeavors, I mean, he was just amazing in some ways. But yeah, so that American Express held at 77 again.
I can't tell you. I'm flip. I must have flipped back and forth to it 50 times. I'm like,
I
what
had
is
I
going
could
on?
up yesterday, just totally amazed, and I was like, "That is some strong support there."
Yep, especially after the market broke down in the afternoon. I'm like, all right, no big
Right.
deal. Didn't crack in the morning, and I fully expected it to roll over. And
Yeah.
AXP didn't, but we had the identical trade in UTX, and UTX actually played out perfectly.
Right. Right. Exactly. And I think we brought them up both yesterday. That did exactly what I thought American Express was going to do.
Yep, I agree. I agree.
But you know what? Let's see. I mean, I find these kind of things I find fascinating to keep up and watch.
Yeah, no, I have
That
AXP on my
shows,
list again today. You have to. You can't give
yeah,
up on it just because it
I
didn't.
definitely agree.
You know. Actually, you know what? We can start the meeting. I want to before we get into the list. I just want to go over. I've been spending a lot of time recently talking about trade expectation.
Hmm.
I definitely believe that it's a giant lesson for people to really internalize when they're going over their trades, and specifically talking about the way I've been wording it is yes, I might want to be short, but or long, but maybe not necessarily now. And there's a few stocks today that I think fit that criteria. I mean, this is also coming into support, so there's another reason why to not necessarily be shorting this. But when you start to get this many days in a row, so we'll take a look at Boeing, Costco, Autodesk, and Lowe's. I think it's a really good example, especially Lowe's on bigger volume after a big move like that. That's a very capitulatory move there, where you would expect that down move to be exhausting itself. It's a very important skill to recognize, heading into the day. Yeah, I want to be long or I want to be short, but not, what is the expectation for follow through after the stock sold off, 4, 5, or 6 days in a row? So then you actually have to take it to the next step and say, okay, if I get a certain type of open, that might make me want to get involved in a different way. So, for example, a lower opening versus a higher opening in a strong or weak stock. So you have to assess, if it opens lower, I really don't want to be involved after that many days in a row. If it opens higher, then maybe you could consider it if you get some sort of topping pattern or something, and maybe look for another push down. But um, you really want to start to get the moves as they're breaking out, and not so much after 4 or 5 days in a row. I think it's a huge part of adjusting your trade expectation intraday, including, we started yesterday morning's meeting, Mary, and you had mentioned somebody had brought up holding good trades. And I think this goes a long way towards teaching you which stocks you have a reason to expect to hold. As you get closer to this many days in a row, you don't want to be adding to positions intraday on these stocks, even if you do take the long or short. So there's my lesson for the morning.
Okay, do you want to go over some stocks, some things we like? Oracle. We mentioned Oracle yesterday. And it held down there, even though it had, it did hold. So you can see where support is on that one.
43.50 area, looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Really big consolidation working here.
Right.
I love these patterns when the consolidation is so obvious that you're really just preparing for a breakout.
Right. And this is getting tighter and tighter, and it's going to break one way or the other, and that's why we want to have something like this up for the breakout or the breakdown.
I got a couple of emails last night that a lot of people that have been following us haven't really traded inside days as much as we've been calling them out, and it's kind of cool to see that they're adding them to their daily game plans. They're actually pretty easy to spot and pretty easy to game plan for, and when they do play out, they play out pretty well.
And if any of you guys see something that you think might be, or you're positive it is, call it out to us. We'll throw it up and let everybody else benefit from it also.
We had one of the subscribers call out CTRP on a pullback today. I kind of like this one myself. It's an inside day and a pullback, and sitting at around the support level where it broke out from. I like this one. The resistance right around 70, so it's got some room to go, a couple of days, and pretty decent pullback. Interesting, too, is that it didn't get clobbered with the rest of the market yesterday. So it actually, even though it closed lower, it didn't show as much relative weakness as the rest of the tape. Another one that we had typed in was RRC. I like this one as well. See, this is interesting. This is kind of the opposite of what we just talked about before. It hasn't gone 4, 5, 6 days in a row, and it's just breaking out of this consolidation, and it has some room to go. So this is actually one example of getting it before, and you can have a little bit higher expectation for follow through. So 2 good examples there. Yeah, actually, Marion, I was looking at our list yesterday, and I don't know how, but we missed LinkedIn earnings to discuss yesterday.
Oh, I actually knew they had earnings. Yeah, but I didn't know if you wanted anybody. I didn't know if we were going to do earnings plays.
Yeah, I guess more so that we just didn't even bring it up. I'm like, right. Wow, how did we not do that?
Yeah,
it was weird. I guess there was enough other things on the table at that point. Not a lot of large cap stocks with earnings today.
No, Fridays are usually a real quiet day for earnings.
CVS and CVX. A lot of these retail stocks, they're all showing the same pattern where we're at the early stages of a confirmed change of trend to the downside. Anybody have anything in particular that they'd like to take a look at? Microsoft. Okay. Got a reversal in Microsoft yesterday off of just in front of that $50 level. I still like Microsoft long. I think I'd like to see it consolidate for maybe a week. That's a pretty big move for that stock these days, from 40, let's say 43 to 49.5 in just a couple of days. I still definitely like it long though.
And Microsoft tends to wait for its moving averages to catch up.
Oh, that's a very good observation.
If you watch it for years.
Joan, the TT there, that means topping tail? Just so everybody's comfortable with the terminology.
Yeah, Tesla, Richard, is getting some interesting
This
buyers
is
coming
it's
this
interesting when
morning.
you start looking at the charts how it just barely breaks the support level that everybody's looking at. And we even did that with American Express yesterday. I think it broke 77 by 2 cents and then had that rally in the first 40 minutes. So if you think everybody's not looking at the same numbers, definitely are.
Yeah, FEYE is a nice earnings play. They had earnings last night.
FireEye. Pretty good volume.
Yeah, real strong guidance. Beat on both top and bottom lines. They got some upgrades this morning.
It's trading right around yesterday's high too. That's going to catch. That's actually a pretty good spot for it to look for a day trade today. You have a very obvious reference point at that point. Had a couple of my better trades today I was looking at is got a 20-day breakdown in TRV with some room to go, as well as BABA. It was actually a 20-day breakdown yesterday, but it's got to get below this 80. If it gets below the 80, it's got some room. Not giving up on my Starbucks either. Consolidated a few days, and actually what I really like about this long today is, we're basically holding a pullback right to where we broke out. So technically that's a pretty good day. Pulled back a decent amount, pulled in with the market. Again, it is pretty much a market stock at this point. But show relative strength. I don't know if I'd necessarily call it a retail stock, but holding up relatively well compared to a lot of other stocks, and that's about as good as it gets, where it literally just pulls right back and stops where it broke out. So actually, I like this. So game planning this today, I'd be looking for an open somewhere at or near yesterday's low and looking to bid support, looking for a retest of yesterday's high, which would roughly translate to about $1.50. Maybe a little bit less, $1.25. So that's setting up technically pretty well there. Let's see, Gilead.
Earnings also last night. Strong earnings. It's trading up over 103 right now. 105 has been resistance in that for.
I had a lot of calls last night. I think we're going to get some good two-way action today. There's news on both sides of the tape. We got some stocks breaking down pretty cleanly, and then we had some pretty nice numbers on the upside. So I think today's going to be a good day to trade. I think you're going to get some clean moves today. Had Sienna on a pullback today looking for a spot to bid, very similar as the Starbucks trade, where it was a strong stock following through very nicely on the gap. Didn't stop as cleanly at support, but definitely in the same area. So again, I would be looking for an open at or near yesterday's close. And even if it opens lower and bounces, I would have a buy stop looking to enter above yesterday's low. If it gets above that level, looking for a test of yesterday's high. COF. I like the breakout of this consolidation, Lou, but pretty clear resistance up here. So just temper your expectations on getting through this resistance at 83 here, and very solid resistance going back to last fall. But as far as a technical setup, this is a setup that I love. We just talked about inside days. This is roughly a 5-day consolidation, which you can see here a little more clearly on the weekly chart. So you got an inside week. So as far as a technical breakout trade, I like that one a lot. Just be very not careful. Be aware of what your resistance levels are when you set your profit targets. So I like that one. I love the question yesterday, Marion, about managing trades. That to me is one of the most how to hold good ones longer and that kind of stuff. To me, setting that up mentally and literally writing that down, that's everything in trading.
Yeah, totally agree.
Oh, nice call here as well, Lou. I like this one. I apologize if I got a gravelly voice today. I'm taking my Ricola, my cough drops. Sorry about that. Apple. Actually, today, interestingly, I like this stock today as a buy for all of the other same reasons. We have support, multi-day pullback. Maybe if we go down a little bit lower, if you can get it, if we open lower, push down to this 122, maybe 122.50 area, I actually like the stock on a buy and a pullback.
Yeah, and on the upside, if it can regain that the 50-day there where it broke down from 127.11.
Yep. Yep. Right here.
Yep.
Right in that area there. Yep. Yeah, I like this. I like Apple and Starbucks there. I like both of them. So I'm going to have an apple and a coffee. SWKS. A descending wedge here. 3 weeks in a row. We had inside week, and now we have 3 weeks of lower lows and lower highs. So it's not quite rolling over as hard as the other ones, but pretty clean. Pretty clean look to the downside here. I'd hesitate to want to be long this stock right now, even though the moving averages are pointing higher. So look at the daily candles, how much indecision there is. Probably half of the last month opened and closed in the same spot. A lot of indecision there. So if I, again, if we're working together, sitting in the room, and say, man, I really like this SWKS, my advice would be to let it tip its hand first before you got involved, just based on the indecision and all those daily candles. Let the institutions pick a side, and then we'll pick a spot. Obviously, I do like the long-term trend, and I do like this, but I'm going really more in a short-term trade with all that recent indecision. Good stock to call out there, Ann. Good discussions. Have APC at a nice breakout level. Really holding well. Did not sell off with the rest of the market yesterday. 550 area. CLR, same thing. Obviously don't like the topping tails, but definitely like it if it can get above there. We have Yoku actually on the list today. And get above this 19 and stay there. So obvious when you really look into price action, how you can tell what the obvious numbers are. Hit 19, didn't get through. Hit 19, didn't get through. Got through 19 and came right back in. So you set your target above 19. Just a question of how much confirmation you want through that price. Almost 2 inside days in a row in Verizon. I could definitely see keeping this one on the radar. Nice breakout of resistance here. Depending on what number you want to use, is staying comfortably above that level. And if you even want to take it further, this is the opposite of the SWKS chart pattern. We have a nice ascending wedge here, which tend to break out to the upside, which we actually did here. So 2 inside days in a row there, Ken. This one maybe popped out a little bit above there to make it not an inside day, but I would definitely game plan for that one, looking for 5150 as the target, clearly. Old Van Halen song, Van Halen album. Which, by the way, I'm in comic book heaven today. I can't wait to go see the Avengers. Let's see, ETP. Nice breakout, good volume the last couple of days. Again, this is a really good one to discuss with setting up your trade expectation, because the last 2 days were definitely good volume, and yesterday especially good trend day, but still clearly a downtrend. No matter whether you're looking on the weekly chart without moving averages or the daily chart with the multi-moving averages, this is still a clear downtrend with 2 good days the last couple of days. We obviously had a failed test of the low. And this is kind of cool to discuss also with setting up potential trades, because as it's pushing down, you're like, all right, we had a failed test of the low. That means something to me. After the failed test of the low, we have 2 days, especially 2 days ago, with really good volume. So after a long move to the downside, a tight pattern and an increase in volume, that's accumulation. And then accumulation got confirmed by yesterday. So this is a really good stock to discuss from a digging in deeper to the technicals than just a chart pattern. So thanks for calling that one out, Lou. That's a very valuable lesson there, believe it or not. After a big down move, increase in volume, tight trading range, and then gets confirmed after a failed low. There's a lot that goes into that. Just looking at that last 4 or 5 weeks, that's a printer outer I would definitely
And
put them
actually,
around.
look at the price that it broke down from yesterday. It's actually at resistance if you go back, and you'll see it was support for the longest time. There is a support right there.
Yep.
Because that's support from back in
This seems to be the area consolidation from the last time it pushed. If we can get through that area and hover above this 58, it's got some room to go. Yeah, I can't stress enough the value in that right now. I would definitely print that chart out and start to notice it. Yesterday or maybe it was Wednesday, we discussed what a whippy topping pattern looks like and how it's kind of all over the place like this. But this is the opposite of that, and not only that, but we get a failed test as well as increase in volume. That's a great technical chart to read between the lines. Triple M, not quite an inside day yesterday, but 156 area is a level to watch. It's got room to go if it breaks down. There is nothing here until 146. And this is a little different as well because sorry, excuse me. These aren't energy candles. Even though there's lower lows and lower highs here, we're not getting consecutive lower lows and highs. As a matter of fact, 2 days ago was an inside day, so we're not seeing a bunch of red candles in a row. So even though this is down a few days in a row, this is not really capitulatory or where you would lower your trade expectation. I would actually expect if we get through 156 here to see a trend day like this. So again, reading between the lines of the charts and really digging in a little deeper than just a chart pattern, trading becomes a fascinating occupation when you really there's such a difference between technical analysis and just being able to read the charts and actually put it in the context of setting up a trade. To me, it's like one of the most amazing things. And I'm sure everybody's read that, stuff on deliberate practice and stuff. The more you dig in and really look at it, which is why I do a lot of charting without moving averages, it forces you to pay attention to the actual price action. It's a great practice to get involved with. You have anything in particular you want to look at, Marion? I can keep going through my list.
I'm just going to, let's see, Paula mentioned Tesla, and Lou's got, if you want to just throw that up. There was news last night. Elon Musk came out and with some new batteries.
For the home.
And launched a new line called Tesla Energy. So, and looks like it could get to that 240 at some point soon, Paula.
Let's see, a DO. Oh, another nice one. Lou, nice job charting today. Wow. To me, this is like just awesome. You spot the levels. They can't get through the levels. We push off. We make a failed test of the low. We get moving averages that are now crossed over, confirmed by 2 good volume days. William O'Neill cup and handle. I mean, wow. I mean, how many more perfect? A head and shoulders bottom. There's like 8 different reasons there to say this is a change of trend. Wow. Very nice. Very good call. Anybody have anything else they'd like to look at? I'll throw CRM up there while you type it in. CRM at an inside day after the breakout. I have this on my watch list today to trade a breakout of yesterday's range.
How about FSLR? Someone had brought that up yesterday.
Okay.
And that's got.
I'm not sure we came up with this level from. I would think it's there.
Yeah.
So 58.50 area, Mary, you think?
Right, yep.
It's amazing how you be trading a long enough. Some of these names just, for the longest time, the solar stocks were the stocks to trade. And what was it? I think Tuesday you had mentioned the not precious metals, earth stocks.
Rare, right. Now, First Solar is in partnership with SPWR on some deals, and they had horrible earnings out this morning. So I definitely watch this to break down.
Okay.
Out of this.
Oh, yeah. Very similar charts.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll keep going through my list unless you have some other stuff.
Um, let's see what else I have here. Intel.
Consolidating after the gap. Broke the long-term downtrend. Looks like 34.50 is the next level, so you can get $2 on a breakout above 33. That's a very clean level.
Say 33. Yeah, you could get at least $1.50, $2 out of that one.
Baidu 20-day breakdown. Oh, Paula, great minds think alike at the same time. So 20-day breakdown. Definitely has some room to go. It looks like some support at 195, but it's got a lot of room through the 195 level. Good volume on the breakdown yesterday with the gap. I would fully expect follow through on the short side of Baidu today. CVX earnings today. Again, a lot of these stocks are breaking these long-term downtrends. It's interesting. We're starting to see a lot of stocks breaking long-term downtrends and a lot of stocks, especially retail stocks, breaking the longer-term uptrends.
You're probably going to get energy with a little more strength because of oil.
I agree. This SLB we've been mentioning, not rolling over like you would expect if you were a short seller up into that gap for the first time now. It's actually holding the gap, and if you are short, I would not be comfortable short in this stock right now. You can definitely see here how somebody, after it bounced, sold it into this resistance level looking for it to roll over, at least coming down to 88. Hasn't done it. Next target actually is around 98.75 in that area. 99, actually. Let's see, we got SWN over 28. Very similar to a lot of these other charts. And again, with the energy thought that Marion just called out, you can definitely see the same pattern here.
You know, your energy sector has really been decimated since the oil started tanking.
Gotta love when you see potential change of trend holding comfortably for multi-days like that. That's a really solid sign of a potential change of trend there that you could really start to pay attention to.
Right, particularly in a whole sector, which is great.
Exactly.
Your choice of.
Yep, I agree. Definitely something that we can make sure we talk about on a regular basis. You know, it's one thing for one stock to be doing that, but that's a phenomenal point, Marion, because when you start to see a lot of money doing the same thing in the same sector, that should definitely perk you up and have it stay in your watch list, because that means institutions are actually doing something there. And if they're doing it in multiple stocks, you definitely want to give it your energy. No pun intended. Another good example of inside candles leading to trend days. Look at how perfect that is. One inside day doesn't do anything. Next day we get a doji or a melted candle, and then it leads to two perfect trend days. Get some resistance up here just over 19. But again, really awesome technical play there. I like it. I like good volume. I would expect increased volume like this. Wow, look at that. Very light volume on two inside days, great volume on two trend days, and now pushing up into resistance. Whether or not we get through there, the 19 level today or not, either way, this is definitely one to keep on your list. Looks like 2050 is the next level through 19, so set your expectations heading up into that level. A lot of 20-day breakouts yesterday, and they are all of the inverse ETFs. So there's a sign as well. Had Caterpillar. Inside day in Caterpillar broke through resistance a couple of days ago, staying above the 85.50 level. I would definitely keep Caterpillar on your list as a potential breakout today. We got through the 85.50 level, pushed through once, immediately recaptured again, and yesterday inside day. And something, actually, this is a good point as well. When you're game planning your stocks, let's take yesterday afternoon and yesterday in general as example. This is actually a really important topic, I think. Um, you obviously always want to take what you feel are the best trades that you're going to get follow through on. You also want to make note of, let's say the market sold off yesterday like it did and closed weak, quite honestly. You want to note stocks that did not do that. So stocks that are bullish in the first place and stocks that actually closed above the open on a weekday, and the opposite, stocks that closed below the open and or were very weak on a strong day, so that you set yourself up with some relative strength or relative weakness plays. And Caterpillar is actually a good example of that. It's an inside day, so we would expect an increase in volatility, and it closed above the open on a day that the market was weak. So let's just say, for argument's sake, heading into the day, the market actually catches a bid. Okay, if the market catches a bid, starts trading above the open, you will now already have a list of stocks that are strong relative to yesterday's weakness, and those would be the first stocks that you would take a look at. So again, that's the power of game planning, is setting that up so I see it all the time with traders scrambling at 10:20 looking for stocks to trade because the market reversed from what they thought was going to happen on the open. Have a list for both sides. Even if you don't need the other list, you're prepared. And if it does happen, you're ready. You're aces. You're ready to go, and you're not scrambling around looking for stuff. I especially think new traders should not be looking for new stuff after the market opens. I think you should have your game plan going into the day and say, look, I had 14 hours to find good trades. I don't think spending 5 minutes to look for a trade is the right idea. What are your thoughts on finding new stuff for new traders, Marion?
No, I agree with you. I think that's a huge mistake, because actually the first hour of trading from 9:30 to 10:30 is one of our most important trading times. So if you're waiting to look and to get in, you've already missed some of the move.
I agree. I definitely agree. I know I made that mistake earlier in my career, and then when I rectified that myself, where I will flat out tell you, and I'm not just saying this because we're in a game plan meeting, but this is the entire point of the game plan meeting. When I learned the significance finally of literally doing the game plans on the sevens, whether it's 7 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock in the morning, and literally going into the day saying, I know exactly what I'm going to do. It doesn't matter what the market does. It's just a question of which stocks unfold the way I expect them to. It's such a calm of you're not looking for stuff at the last minute. You're not, like, if something moves, you're not, what's the news on the stock and that kind of thing. And again, I want to preface it a little bit. I started out with NASDAQ trading, which was nothing but scalping, so there wasn't really a massive amount of research you did back then. But game planning, in my opinion, if you have a definitive trading plan, and you're, in these types of meetings that we're having now, where you convert and transform that trading plan into stocks to trade for the day, trading is not as stressful as people make it. It becomes stressful when you don't know what you're going to do next.
Right, because then you get desperate, and that's a real bad emotion to have when you're trading, because you're afraid you're missing something. Yep. And you're jumping into things that could be too late.
Yep. Fear of missing out is a huge right. thing for traders. You just worded that extremely well. Extremely well. Richard, we have SCTY, definitely. It's above the 60 level. And again, pattern that we keep talking about, it's holding. That's important. Holding above the level. GMCR. Haven't looked at that one in a while myself. I had one of those machines for a while. Anybody else have a Keurig? I'm actually a big, I've gone back to regular drip coffee. Something about the taste. So we've got multiple weeks in a row of consolidation. So this is actually pretty interesting. So again, if I pour my coffee 7 o'clock at night and I'm game planning, I'm like, all right, you could definitely translate it as a head and shoulders top with a neckline that's about to break, or you could say, well, we're consolidating with multiple inside weeks at support. So you have two different scenarios to game plan. If it pushes through, next support is 90. If it holds, then you're looking at a potential change of trend back to the upside. So you got trades on both sides to set up here. You are. So I definitely like keeping that on the watch list, Richard. I like that one. Very good participation today, everybody. Awesome. Actually, we did not talk about Altera. Old friend of mine. I used to day trade quite a bit, actually. Again, reading between the lines of where price has to get through, even though the high of these candles is up here above 45, the real level's 44.75. I'm sorry, excuse me. I like that. Inside day, outside candle, and then a trend day. And again, think about the relative strength of this stock compared to the market from yesterday. This is a stock you want to give some of your attention to today. You know, we all have a limited attention. This is a stock for the reasons that we just mentioned. The market sold off. The stock is a bullish pattern and was strong yesterday. Something as simple as that is a powerful, powerful thing to be looking at. Think about what you're saying when you're game planning your stocks. Okay, the market got crushed yesterday, pulled back, maybe pulling into support. If the market catches a bid, which would be the first stocks that I would go to look for? And actually in FinViz, one of the scans that I run, and maybe I'll do like a midday meeting one day. Actually, I'll take that back. I will definitely do a midday meeting on actually walking through the scanning. You can actually run a scan to show what percentage the stock closed from the open yesterday. So in other words, one of the ones that I run is above the 20-period moving average and closed 2% above the open. So it's telling me the stock is strong and the stock was strong yesterday. So even if the market wasn't weak, it's still telling you stocks that you should at least take a look at and then dive into the charts to see if there's a trade for it. So a lot of these little things add up to monster conviction in your trading plan, which is, look, conviction is where hesitation disappears. Inside day in UAL yesterday, I kind of like that. And actually, see how interesting the 20-day breakdown is? Very significant levels to notice. Broke through the 20-day, did not stay there, and now it held it as support again yesterday. So I like it below this level. Looks like it's around yesterday's low is the level, 59.25, I believe, 59.33. So you got inside day and a really obvious support level. So I would definitely keep an eye on UAL. But then reading between the lines a little bit, increase in volume that failed to push below that level. So you get some buyers coming in at that level. SINA. Wow. I like that one. Nice call. Very nice call. It's amazing when you zoom out on the weekly charts. Some of the patterns just become so clear. I like very good call. Who was that? Paula? Nice. I like that one. I don't know if I'd necessarily be long today. I'd probably like it to consolidate and then look for it to make a run at 50. But I like that one. Is there any? I guess the question is we're calling out sell shorts. Some people only trade long. Nothing wrong with that. You know, don't feel the need to sell short if you're not comfortable selling short. Nothing wrong with that at all.
And maybe sometime we'll get into option trading so you can understand how you can sell short without putting up a lot of capital.
That sounds awesome. Yep. I don't know if anybody knows what Gorilla Glue is, but American Express has some Gorilla Glue right now at 77.
It sure does. It's amazing. Remember yesterday we thought it'd break down from that 77. There's insane support there, especially the weakness yesterday.
So on the better ideas long today, I'm definitely keeping an eye on Starbucks. Looking for some follow through on the short side in 3M. We also discussed Apple pullbacks, depending on where you're drawing your trend lines. This is actually a little whippy price action up here in Apple. But I do like today specifically after the pullback after earnings, I like buying and looking for a spot to bid Apple today on a lower opening and a first push down. So if we open at or near yesterday's low and push down, I'd be looking for a 15-minute, probably a 15-minute inside candle somewhere around the support, or maybe a bottoming tail. I don't have a giant list today. when it's really hard to find, you really got to be on top of your game, which is even more important for finding stocks to trade. When it's slim pickings, you really got to have some stuff that you're really convinced. CRM as well. Definitely keep an eye on CRM today. Nice breakout on earnings and then followed by an inside day. Keep an eye. I would set an alarm at 74 in CRM. Yesterday's high. Tesla, definitely in the news today. Nice catalyst. Looks like, what do we have here? Paula, 950 is the level it looks like it has to stay above. It's got some room to go if it breaks out. That's for sure. You can see, look at that. It's like a giant vacuum. Good job calling out trades that have room to go. That's good. And we mentioned it a few times this week. Very, very important. If you get a good trade that sets up like this and it follows through the next day, don't give up on it. You could usually get 2, 3, maybe even 4 days out of it in the same direction. So good call there, Paula. Checkpoint. Well, look at the interesting stock, Lou. Look at how many weeks in a row of complete opposite. That's a lot of indecision in that stock. Big green, big red, inside, big green, big red, big green, big red. Wow. That is the very definition there of indecision. And me personally, when I see that much indecision, I'm like, well, big money doesn't have an idea what they're doing. I'm not getting in. I know it sounds oversimplified, but it's absolutely how I look at it. 1 week to the next where it just keeps changing sides. Could also be interpreted as a topping pattern because of that lack of indecision. So I think you're right there, Lou. I think I said this one already, but Sienna on a pullback today to support. Looking for a test of yesterday's low. Because we can go through the market a little bit here as well. Uptrend in the SPY in the weekly chart. Still holding, believe it or not. The one thing I think that is frustrating a little bit to traders that have been blessed with the market just correcting every mistake, we have not been viciously racing back to new highs like we did a couple of months ago. So it's really important to have a good stock pick, a good list of stocks to pick. A lot of people talking about the transports. Clearly see we're at or near big support level. 153.50 area. Maybe 154 depending on where you draw the support level. Right there. Pulled back a lot yesterday. Obviously, the market pulled back, but I wouldn't do anything until I saw it comfortably stay above 119. It's been the level for over a year. Just out of curiosity, maybe take a quick poll here. If you had, and I'll put it in 2 different categories to keep it simple. Um, do you trade the same universe of stocks every day and look for patterns, or do you scan everything and then look for trades? So let's call it universe versus scans. Just out of curiosity.
Actually, I think you can do both of them. I tend to look at the ones I know better and look to see what they're doing because I know their personality, the flavor of the stock, and then and whatever's there, I'll take and hold on to. But then I go and check out other. So I think you can probably do both. But I don't know. How about anybody else? How about you, Pete? What do you do?
I do a little bit of both.
Oh, okay.
I definitely do a little bit of both. I have one group of 100 stocks that I know very, very well. And it actually started out with, maybe 10 or 15 stocks. And then, you take stocks out, you add stocks. And they're kind of my go-to list that, I don't have to give as much deep research because I know a lot of them intimately. But then I run scans looking for, very specific patterns.
Right. And then do you throw away the ones with low volume, or that's part of your scan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I don't look at anything that doesn't have decent institutional
Right.
following. To me, it's just if it's not supported with decent volume, I just don't want to get involved because at any point, I just feel like I don't have my risk managed. I'm always focused on my risk first.
How
What
about
would
the
you?
energy ETF, the IYE?
We could definitely do a meeting as well. Maybe we'll take a meeting of what are your biggest frustrations right now, and then have an open discussion about that.
Here's energy up here coming off the lows and in a box right now.
Yeah, wow, it's pretty clear.
Yeah. It's one I like for a breakout to the upside.
Have a nice weekend, Lou. Thank you very much.
Bye, Lou. Have a good weekend. I don't know if you guys all trade ETFs, but this is one that I think has a really good possibility today.
Just over 50 as the next level too. So
Yeah, so you got room.
yeah,
You got several dollars in there.
dish at support. That's actually a good one to keep an eye on. Who called that one out? Lars. Thank you, Lars. That's a good one. I like that one. Looks like it's got to stay below 68. If it stays below 68, last place buyers did something significant with 63. Good call there. Thank you, Ann.
And have a good weekend.
Have a nice weekend, Ann. So slim pickings today, Marion. I think you really have to be on top of your game. We called out quite a bit of stuff. Definitely some very clean setups. I wouldn't go looking for stuff when it's really that difficult. You really want to be focused on what you're looking for and then just let everything else go. There's no reason to be involved if it's hard to find.
Right. I think energy is a good sector to watch today. And if you can't watch them all, watch the ETF.
I agree. I think that's a very good call. So you can see actually, Lars, here, multiple going all the way back to mid-2014. This level has been big in Dish. So be careful of short selling it if that was your intention through this level. Make sure it gets through the level because there is major support here. If you were thinking about bidding into that support, you could probably make a case for both sides. I think if I was game planning it, I would tend to right now with this whippy top action and holding at support, I would be more inclined to game plan it as a breakthrough support with all of this room to go. I think if you want it to be long, you can find a stock that's a better long than this one right now. I'd rather be long a strong stock than looking to bid a support of a weak stock. And I actually think that's a big lesson. Thank you, Richard. Have a great weekend. Okay, nothing wrong with that, Lars. We just made it. We just made a case for being on both sides. Excuse me. There's nothing wrong with your thought process because you could definitely see that there's support. The only point that I want to bring out as you know, for lack of a better way of putting it, as a trading lesson, is at some point you should have a consideration in your trading plan to be short weak stocks and to be long strong stocks. I can't tell you how many frustrating trading days that I personally had where I was short a strong stock incorrectly because it looked like it was at resistance, looked like it wasn't going higher anymore, that kind of thing. You just get a lot more juice out of a stock that you're trading with the order flow. Nothing wrong with your thought process here. It's clearly at support. I just want to throw a little deeper or add to your thought process a little bit.
Right, Lars. You need a confirmation. It's going to move from one way or the other. And then once you get the confirmation, you can go with it. But here it's really hard to really pick a direction at this point. And that's what we want. We want our risk. We want to mitigate our risk. So we're not going to, and so that's really a guess. So once you get a confirmation one way or the other, you're good to go.
Yep. And Ken and Joan, yes, definitely thinking the energy sector.
Joan, yeah.
Yep, another similar box. I would set an alarm for this one just because it's not really near a breakout level, and it doesn't seem like it has average true range that it would go from 640 through 70, through 7. But I would definitely keep an alarm.
Also, guys, watch for 10 o'clock this morning because we have some really important manufacturing numbers coming out. And that could swing the market, give us a direction. It could be great. It could give us a direction one way or another. But be careful when 10 o'clock comes around. We have some really key economic reports.
Barry, maybe you'd probably be a little more qualified to answer Ken's question there than...
let me see. On something like Dish, would you sell... No, you don't really want to short a put. There's spreads you can do. You've got too much risk there because if you're wrong, anything you sell can go against you to infinity. So no, I would not. I would rather buy a call or buy a spread. Buy an in-the-money call and then sell it on the out-of-the-money call. So now you've got defined risk and you're not paying up as much for it.
How far out of the money would you look to sell the call, Mary? Would you just
you know what? Let me bring up. I'm going to have to bring it up because I don't really know that. I have to look at the option chain for that one.
Okay. Excellent.
Hold on. Give me a minute.
Okay. Good participation today, everybody. That's awesome.
Okay, I'm looking at the May option chain right now. $240. Okay, you have the let's see where this goes today. I don't like the bid and the ask on this one at all. Right now, the bid is down at 66. It's not trading yet this morning. We have a 68 and a 73. You could get into this. I'm talking May here now. Because you're going to have to give it a while. Let me look at the chart again. We have resistance up here at 72. So what you're going to do when you're going to sell, you're going to buy something in the money and you're going to sell where you think is resistance and where you're going to get, because then that's going to give you the extra whatever dollar on your, so I'd be selling, or maybe a little higher than that, maybe selling a 73. So buying a 68 and selling a 73. You can buy a 68 for $2.30 and selling a 73 for 75 cents, which gives you $1.50 for $5. So you're going to pay $1.50 for that spread, and if it gets there, it's $5. Even if it gets below, because you're going to make the money anyway on that 73 call that you've sold. That's your money then. I'm trying to see where else I could. Let me go further out. We might do something more inventive than just a straight spread. Hold on. Let me see to see if we got some, if we can hold. Something else. So, see, Ken, do you understand why you don't want to just sell a put? Does that make sense? You don't mind having the stock at $60, right? If you don't mind having the stock at $60, that's okay. But the thing is, any of these stocks can tumble, and where you think is a bottom might not be, and there. So
it was 68 and 73.
Really expensive. Now, why 60? I don't get why a 60. I'd say it doesn't seem to be a real level there. I don't know, Pete. What are you seeing? I don't see 60 as.
I see 58 as the next significant level.
Right.
62 maybe, but.
So, what's happening, you can own it at 60, but then all of a sudden the stock's at 58. And how much are you going to sell it for? What are the 60? What time frame are you looking at? The May expiration? You're only going to be able to sell the put for 40 cents.
That's not a lot. That doesn't justify.
And that's a huge risk to take to make that kind of money. Let me go over it later and see what other things, because sometimes finding spreads can take a little more than just looking at. I just went to the May 22nd option chain. But as this opens up and it trades today, I'll check it out. Do you want me to? Oh, okay. It was just a strike you threw out there. Okay. I say 58 is much more support than, and those are even going to be cheaper. So you're not going to want to sell those for a nickel. Oh, no, here, 59. There is no 58s. Yeah, so also see your risk and reward in something like that, because that's going to make a lot of difference. So if you want to risk if you're positive on the stock and you want to risk the $1.50 to make the $5, that's probably a better risk reward than make 40 cents. And because you're also a defined reward on that. Your reward can only be 40 cents. I'll look at it today, Ken, and see what Dish does. It's not going to run away from us. So I'll look over the weekend and see if I can find some good spreads for you in that, okay?
Thanks for bringing that up, Ken. That was a good discussion.
Yeah, it was.
Okay, everybody, I think we'll call it an official meeting. Got about a half an hour to the open. Definitely get in there and get definitive on your list, because it wasn't a giant list today, so you want to be very, very prepared if the opportunities are a little bit more slim today.
Right.
But there are definitely some setups. There's not a question that there's some setups today.
Yep, keep your eye on energy. On that, American Express is going to do something.
Yeah, exactly.
Tesla, Apple, Gilead, FireEye, Cat. So there's quite a few of them there. All right, guys, have a great weekend. Thanks for a great first week.
Yep,
Thanks, Peter. Pete.
absolutely. Have a great
Wonderful.
weekend, everybody. Thank you, Marion.
Okay, bye.
Bye bye.